Welcome. What you are about to watch is not science fiction, and it is not folklore. It is a serious investigation into one of history's most compelling unresolved questions, the mystery of the Mariana Trench, what we've found in the deepest place on Earth. Across the world, in universities, research institutes, and field excavations, serious scholars are wrestling with evidence that does not fit the accepted story. Evidence that has been documented, measured, and peer-reviewed, and that still has no satisfying conventional explanation. We are going to look at that evidence carefully, without prejudice in either direction, not dismissing what is extraordinary, but not accepting it without scrutiny either. The truth, as always, is in the details. In 2018, a plastic bag was found at a depth of 975 meters in the Mariana Trench, the deepest point ever reached on Earth. The trench descends nearly 11 kilometers below the surface of the Pacific Ocean. At that depth, the pressure is over 1,000 times atmospheric pressure. The temperature hovers near freezing, and somehow, something put a plastic bag there. The Mariana Trench was first reached by humans on January 23, 1960, when Swiss oceanographer Jacques Piccard and U.S. Navy Lieutenant Don Walsh descended in the bathyscaphe Trieste. They spent 20 minutes at the bottom and reported seeing a flatfish, an observation later disputed. James Cameron made the first solo descent in 2012. In 2019, Victor Vescovo descended to 928 meters in a custom-built submersible, the deepest crewed dive ever recorded, and found new species of amphipods, and also a plastic bag and a candy wrapper. Every expedition to the Mariana Trench has returned with new species unknown to science. Giant single-celled organisms the size of a grape, fish living at pressures that should dissolve their cell membranes, bacteria that may hold keys to new antibiotics. Less than 20% of the ocean floor has been mapped at high resolution. What are we missing in the other 80%? This is where our investigation begins. Stay with us, because the further we go into the evidence, the more extraordinary it becomes. The story you think you know is only the surface. Beneath it lies something far more remarkable. Let us begin. Before we examine the specific evidence, we need to step back and understand the context. This case does not exist in isolation. It sits within the expanding frontier of unexplained cosmic phenomena, and to properly evaluate what we are looking at, we need to understand the broader picture that surrounds it. The scale of the universe is so far beyond ordinary intuition that even physicists struggle to hold it in mind. The observable universe contains an estimated 2 trillion galaxies, each containing hundreds of billions of stars. The Milky Way alone has between 100 and 400 billion stars. Conservative estimates suggest that 1 in 5 of those stars has a planet in the habitable zone, the orbital range at which liquid water can exist on the surface. That gives our galaxy alone somewhere between 20 and 80 billion potentially habitable worlds. Against those numbers, the claim that Earth is the only planet to have produced intelligent life seems extraordinary. The statistical argument for extraterrestrial life is almost overwhelming, and yet we have no confirmed contact, no artifact, no verifiable signal. The contrast between the mathematical expectation of abundant life and the apparent emptiness of the cosmos is the Fermi paradox, and it is one of the deepest unsolved problems in science. The paradox has generated dozens of proposed solutions. From the Great Filter hypothesis, some catastrophic barrier prevents civilizations from becoming spacefaring, to the zoo hypothesis, they are watching us, but not yet making contact, to the simulation argument, the universe we observe is itself an artifact. None of these has been confirmed. All of them have troubling implications. The Fermi paradox is not a curiosity. It may be the most important question the human species has ever faced. This context matters because it tells us something important. What we are about to investigate is not an isolated curiosity. It is part of a pattern that researchers in multiple fields have been independently documenting for decades. And patterns in science demand explanation. With that foundation in place, let us now turn to the specific case at hand. Now we reach the heart of the matter, the core evidence surrounding the Mariana Trench. What we've found in the deepest place on Earth is more extensive, more verified, and more troubling for conventional explanations than most people realize. Let us walk through it systematically, fact by fact, and allow the evidence to speak for itself. We are not going to speculate here. Every point that follows is documented in peer-reviewed publications, official archaeological records, or government archives that are publicly accessible. The question is not whether these facts are real. The question is what they mean. Consider this first extraordinary detail. Challenger Deep, located in the Mariana Trench in the Western Pacific, is the deepest known point on Earth at 10,935 meters below sea level. The pressure at the bottom is approximately 1,086 bar over 15,750 pounds per square inch. Temperature ranges from 1 to 4 degrees Celsius. The trench is approximately 550 kilometers long and 69 kilometers wide. If Mount Everest were placed at the bottom, it would still be submerged by more than 2,000 meters of water. This single data point, if taken in isolation, might be set aside. Anomalies happen, instruments malfunction, researchers make mistakes. But as we continue, you will see that this is not an isolated anomaly. It is part of a consistent and documented pattern. But that is only the beginning. Researchers also discovered the first human descent to Challenger Deep occurred on January 23, 1960, when oceanographer Jacques Piccard and U.S. Navy Lieutenant Don Walsh descended in the Swiss-built bathyscaphe Trieste. They reached the bottom after nearly 5 hours and spent approximately 20 minutes there. James Cameron made the first solo descent on March 26, 2012, reaching 10,908 meters in his purpose-built submersible deep-sea Challenger. Cameron collected samples and filmed for 3 hours before ascending. Now, a skeptic might propose an alternative explanation for this, and that is entirely reasonable. We should always test alternative explanations before accepting extraordinary ones. The problem is that the alternative explanations, when examined carefully, create more problems than they solve. The mystery deepens when we examine. Victor Vescovo descended to 10,928 meters in May 2019 in the DSV limiting factor, part of his 5 deeps expedition to reach the deepest point in each of the 5 oceans. His dive was the deepest crewed descent ever recorded. Vescovo and scientists from the Caledon Oceanic team discovered 4 new species of crustacean and new species of sea cucumber and snailfish during the expedition's surveys of Challenger Deep. They also found a plastic bag and a candy wrapper at depth. This is where the conventional account begins to strain. Each individual fact might be dismissed or minimized in isolation. But the cumulative weight of the evidence is another matter entirely. Perhaps most remarkable of all, xenophyophores, giant single-celled organisms that can reach 20 centimeters in diameter, have been found at depths of 10,641 meters in the Mariana Trench, making them the largest known single-celled organisms on Earth. The Mariana snailfish, Pseudoliparis swayeri, was found living at 178 meters, the deepest known fish. In 2023, a Mindaruwa deep-sea research team recorded snailfish at 336 meters, breaking the depth record for any vertebrate animal. Researchers who have examined this evidence have described it as genuinely difficult to explain within the accepted framework. These are not fringe commentators. They are credentialed academics publishing in mainstream journals, raising questions that the field has not yet satisfactorily answered. Then there is the matter of a plastic bag was found at a depth of 10,975 meters in the Mariana Trench in 2018 as part of a deep-sea debris database analysis published in Marine Policy. The study found that single-use plastics accounted for the majority of debris found across deep-sea environments, including Challenger Deep. Microplastics have been detected in the bodies of amphipod crustaceans collected from the trench's deepest zones. Plastic-degrading bacteria have also been isolated from Mariana Trench sediments. What makes this particularly significant is its independence from the previous points. This is not a case of one theory requiring another. These are separate lines of evidence converging on the same uncomfortable conclusion. Adding to the enigma is this finding: Challenger deep sediments contain unusually high concentrations of organic carbon, the accumulated remains of surface organisms that have sunk over millions of years. This organic material sustains a bacterial community that forms the base of the trench's food web. Every survey of the Mariana Trench has produced new species. The 2012 Cameron expedition found new amphipods, sea cucumbers, and foraminifera. The 2016 NOAA Oceanos Explorer surveys documented new fish species. The 2019 Vescovo expedition added new crustaceans to the list. Taken together, these facts form a pattern that cannot be explained by coincidence, misidentification, or methodological error. Each piece of evidence has been examined by skeptics. Each has been subjected to alternative explanations, and in each case, the alternative explanation falls short of accounting for everything that has been documented. We are left with a body of evidence that demands explanation and an accepted narrative that does not provide one. This is where serious inquiry begins. Now that we have established the evidence, we need to examine the theories that researchers have proposed to explain the Mariana Trench, what we've found in the deepest place on Earth. This is where the debate becomes most intense, because the theories reflect not just different interpretations of the same evidence, but fundamentally different assumptions about what is possible and what the past looked like. Understanding these theories is not just an academic exercise. Each one has been championed by serious researchers with genuine credentials, and each one captures something that the others miss. The truth, if it is ever established, will likely draw on elements of several. The first major explanation proposed by researchers holds that the trench harbors significant numbers of undiscovered life forms, with every expedition confirming this. The combination of extreme pressure, cold temperatures, darkness, and isolation has driven evolutionary adaptations not seen elsewhere, and the frequency of new species discoveries on every visit suggests we have sampled only a tiny fraction of the biological diversity present. The main caveat is that deep trench biodiversity is probably lower in total species count than shallow coastal zones, despite the novelty of each discovery. This interpretation has significant academic support and is backed by substantial evidence, but it is not without problems. Critics point out that it requires assumptions that go beyond what the evidence strictly supports, and that key predictions of this theory have not been confirmed by subsequent research. It remains contested, and the contest is productive. A rival school of thought argues that the trench biosphere is driven by chemosynthesis and the slow rain of organic material from the sunlit surface ocean rather than by any local primary production. Bacteria at the bottom break down organic carbon that has sunk from above, and those bacteria are consumed by specialist organisms adapted to the pressure. This marine snow food web makes deep trench life entirely dependent on surface productivity, meaning changes in surface ocean conditions propagate downward over time into the deepest environments. This theory is controversial, and deliberately so. Its proponents argue that the evidence demands an explanation outside the conventional framework. Critics counter that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, and that the evidence presented, while suggestive, does not yet meet that standard. The debate continues in peer-reviewed literature. Perhaps the most unconventional theory suggests that bioluminescent communication in deep-sea organisms may represent a form of biological complexity analogous in function to nervous system signaling, encoding information across communities of organisms in total darkness. While speculative, this hypothesis has driven research into the patterns and species specificity of bioluminescent displays in deep-sea fish, squid, and jellyfish. The main objection is that most studied bioluminescence serves predation and mating, rather than anything resembling community-level communication. What is striking about this debate is not merely that experts disagree. That is normal and healthy in science. What is striking is the quality of the disagreement. Serious researchers, working from the same body of evidence, reaching genuinely different conclusions. That level of fundamental disagreement, when it persists over decades, is a signal that something important has not yet been understood. The question is not which of these theories is right. The question is whether any of them is right, or whether the truth is something that none of the current frameworks has yet been able to capture. The case surrounding the Mariana Trench, what we've found in the deepest place on Earth, does not rest on speculation alone. What distinguishes this investigation from pure mythology is the existence of documented, physical, verifiable evidence, material that has been examined by credentialed researchers and whose authenticity is not seriously disputed. What is disputed is its interpretation. Let us review the most significant documented evidence as objectively as possible. We are not going to cherry-pick the data that supports a preferred conclusion. We are going to lay out what exists and let you draw your own assessment. Physical evidence supporting this account includes every major Mariana Trench expedition has returned with previously unknown species. Cameron's 2012 dive added new amphipod and sea cucumber species to the catalog. Noah Ocano's Explorer surveys in 2016 documented new fish species. Vescovo's 2019 expedition found 4 new crustacean species. A 2023 Minderua expedition documented snailfish at the record depth of 336 meters. The pattern is consistent across 6 decades. Every time humans visit the trench with improved sampling capability, new species are found. This evidence has been subjected to independent verification. Skeptics have examined it. Alternative explanations have been proposed and tested. The data remains. The question of what it means remains open. Investigators have documented microplastics have been found in the tissues of amphipod crustaceans collected from multiple Mariana Trench locations, including Challenger Deep. A 2019 study in Nature Ecology and Evolution confirmed microplastic contamination at all sampled depths. Plastic-degrading bacteria were isolated from trench sediments in a 2020 study. The presence of a plastic bag at 10,975 meters, confirmed by the 2018 Deep Sea Debris Database analysis, demonstrates that human waste products reach even the most remote point on the planet. This evidence has been subjected to independent verification. Skeptics have examined it. Alternative explanations have been proposed and tested. The data remains. The question of what it means remains open. On-site analysis revealed the Mariana snailfish, Pseudoliparis swire, has been studied for adaptations that allow survival at extreme pressure. Its cell membranes contain trimethylamine N-oxide at elevated concentrations, a pressure-stabilizing compound that prevents protein denaturation. Its skull is partially unfused compared to shallow water relatives, preventing implosion. Its eyes are reduced but functional. These documented adaptations confirm that natural selection has produced highly specific solutions to the trench's physical challenges over evolutionary time. This evidence has been subjected to independent verification. Skeptics have examined it. Alternative explanations have been proposed and tested. The data remains. The question of what it means remains open. Each individual piece of evidence might, in principle, be explained away. A single anomalous artifact might be misidentified. A single anomalous date might reflect contamination. A single anomalous eyewitness account might reflect misperception. The question is whether all of the evidence can be explained away, and whether the explanations required are more or less plausible than the evidence itself. When multiple independent lines of inquiry converge on the same conclusion, that convergence is the most powerful signal in empirical science. And that is exactly what we are seeing here. We have examined the history, the evidence, and the theories surrounding the Mariana Trench, what we've found in the deepest place on Earth. Now we need to ask the question that is sometimes overlooked in discussions of ancient mysteries. Why does this matter? What does it mean for us today? It would be easy to file this away as an interesting historical curiosity, a puzzle from a distant past with no bearing on our present lives. That would be a fundamental mistake. The questions raised by this case touch on issues that are directly relevant to who we are, where we came from, and what the human story actually looks like before the period covered by conventional history. Vescovo's 5 Deeps expedition between 2018 and 2019 completed the first crewed visits to the deepest points of all 5 oceans. The DSV limiting factor submersible remains operational for continued research. The Ocean Census Initiative, launched in 2023, aims to identify 100,000 new ocean species by 2030. Less than 20% of the global ocean floor has been mapped at high resolution. Most of the deep ocean is less well charted than the surface of Mars. Microplastic contamination at Challenger Deep demonstrates the full global extent of human environmental impact. Extremophile bacteria from Mariana Trench sediments are being studied for biotechnology applications, including novel antibiotics. Every expedition confirms that the deep ocean remains one of the most biologically unexplored environments on Earth. Furthermore, the tools available to investigate these questions are advancing rapidly. Satellite imaging, ground-penetrating radar, ancient DNA analysis, isotopic tracing, and deep-sea sonar are all providing capabilities that previous generations of researchers could only dream of. Cases that were genuinely unresolvable 10 years ago are now open to new analysis, and the findings, consistently, are expanding rather than contracting the mystery. The investigation continues. New discoveries are being made. New analyses are being published. New voices are entering the conversation from disciplines that were not previously part of the discussion. The answers, when they come, and they will come, will not merely solve a historical puzzle. They will force a fundamental revision of assumptions that underpin our entire understanding of human history and human potential. We have now walked through the complete case of the Mariana Trench, what we've found in the deepest place on Earth, from the historical record, through the physical evidence, across the competing theories, and into the modern significance of what remains unresolved. What the story of Mariana Trench ultimately reveals is not just a historical puzzle. It is a mirror. It reflects our assumptions back at us, our assumptions about what ancient people were capable of, about how knowledge is gained and lost across the centuries, and about the relationship between what we know and what we merely think we know. The evidence presented in this documentary is real. The questions it raises are genuine. The debate among researchers is ongoing, and that is healthy. Science is not a set of conclusions. It is a process. And the process requires that we remain open to evidence that challenges what we thought we knew, however uncomfortable that challenge might be. If you came to this documentary as a skeptic, we hope the evidence gave you something to think about. If you came as a true believer, we hope the critical examination gave you a more nuanced picture. The truth, as always, lies in the evidence, not in what we want to be true. Thank you for watching. If this investigation sparked your curiosity, please subscribe to the channel. We publish new documentaries every week, covering the full range of historical mysteries that the mainstream has not yet adequately explained. Leave a comment below telling us which case you want us to investigate next. The conversation continues. The investigation never ends.